So there's one question I get asked all the time. Do I own any ball pythons? Well, I don't, but today I am at my parents' place and I'm gonna show you all my dad's ball pythons as well as a few other pythons and a couple corn snakes. So stay tuned and let's check out my dad's collection. And I'll try my best with the morph names and stuff, but if I'm wrong, comment down below and correct me. So first up, I wanted to do one of my favorite snakes of all my dad's snakes. So this here is a Sumatran short-tailed python. So a lot of people get them confused with bloods. A lot of times at reptile shows marked as black bloods, which is actually, it gets it confused as far as some people for a long time thought that these were, some type of mutation of red blood python, but these are a totally different species. So as far as the short-tailed pythons go, there are the red bloods and there are Sumatran short-tailed pythons, and there's Borneo short-tailed pythons. This one is a Sumatran. The Sumatrans start off a tannish color, kind of a dark tan, kind of like this guy, but they do turn more black as they get older, and they're known for those orange eyes as well as, really dark blacks. As they get older, there's some animals that are purely black. These guys are known to be one of the easiest to keep, as far as people say that red blood pythons are a little bit more susceptible to temperature changes and humidity and stuff like that. And Borneos are somewhere in the middle, and Sumatrans seem to be some of the easiest ones to keep, but they're also one of the ones that aren't bred in captivity that much, as far as you see a lot of red blood pythons out there because there's a whole lot of mutations in them, as well as you see a whole bunch of Borneos out there because, someone like Matt Minatola at Philly Herp works with Borneos and he's gone, really deep in line breeding these. So Sumatrans are a little bit rare and quite frankly some of my favorite snakes, and I'm thinking about getting some. So I would love to get a group of these guys because, there's not enough of them out there, and I think that they're a really great snake. People say they aren't handleable and stuff like that, and they have bad attitudes and they're hard to keep, but quite frankly, it's just because people were keeping them like ball pythons. People are keeping them too hot, as well as, you're not having captive bred babies, you're having wild caught adults and stuff. Of course, they're gonna be a little bit more high strung. Even if we're talking even red bloods that I've seen and Borneos have been very, very calm as far as captive born individuals. So definitely a very, very underrated snake. So what I have right here is our first ball python. This is actually a male Ultramel. Kind of has the same coloration as the banana, but it is a recessive gene, and it keeps more of a caramel color rather than bananas have more darker blacks and some lighter coloration on the saddles. But these guys stay a really cool yellow and caramel, and from adulthood, from hatchling size to adulthood, they actually don't change color that much. So if most ball python mutations, they actually start off real bright or start off a certain way and then kind of get dimmer and darker, and pretty much most of the mutations get worse with age, and this is one that actually stays pretty good. So this is an awesome animal, and it just takes a little bit more to work genes into the Ultramel, obviously, because it is a recessive gene, but I think these are awesome snakes. Here I have is a Lemon Blast, which I believe is a pastel spinner, I think. I will double check, but there's a Lemon Blast ball python. The pastel in a lot of these animals browns out as they get older. You see that they hold more coloration more towards the belly of the animal, and the pinstripe gene, or actually the pastel pinstripe, I don't know. The pinstripe gene really makes this pattern washed out and stuff like that, and makes it these just awesome little stripes down here. Not a lot of saddle pattern, not a lot of pattern everywhere. This guy right here is a black pastel yellow belly. What's cool about black pastel yellow bellies is that they are one of the other animals that start off looking very much, if not a little bit better when they get older. So they look very much the same as when they're younger, but they may gain some more orange coloration as they go through adulthood. This guy's actually been paired up to another yellow belly combination, which two yellow bellies makes a super form called an ivory, which is a mostly yellow ball python, but it can have a little washed out yellow and stuff like that all around. It's not pure white like the blue-eyed leucistes, but it's the first form of what we would call leucism that we had in ball pythons. So yellow belly was a giant gene back in the day as far as a good ingredient to create white ball pythons. And yellow bellies were one of the first genes to come out of the wild. They're also really hard, at least for me, someone who doesn't know ball pythons a lot, to pick out a yellow belly as a hatchling. But it can do amazing things as far as a lot of times it is an enhancer gene. So pastel yellow bellies, or we'll show you a pastel yellow belly later, I believe, and it just really brightens that color, and because it intensifies with age, it actually keeps a lot more of that yellow than just the regular pastel mutations. This right here is a Pastel Lesser. So like I was mentioning before about blue-eyed leucistics, actually two Lessers together, the super form is a blue-eyed leucistic, so that's why Lesser is always a good thing to have, because people really like blue-eyed leucistics, and plus you can do a lot of different things with them. So people consider blue-eyed leucistics to be kind of a dead-end gene, as far as once you get it blue, or once you get it white, you can't really see any pattern or any other color. So everything else washes out. So it's like it could have a bunch of genes in it, but you can't really tell. You can blacklight them and you can see some pattern. You can make an assumption on what genes you have, but you're not going to show them visually. So you know, you want to have a visually striking animal, but the blue-eyed leucistic is one of those very visually striking animals. So I'd say a lesser gene is a great one to have. So what I have right here is a banana yellow belly, and like I said before, banana and Ultramel kind of have the same color palette, but as they get a little bit older, the Ultramel keeps that caramel color on the saddles. These guys have a faded out kind of saddle pattern, and then they get these flecks on them, which these little spots of melanin that come in as they age. So there's definitely animals that get more black flecks and ones that get less black flecks, but there's no really way to tell how. I mean, maybe if it's a couple months old and you don't have any flecks, you may have one that has less. I mean, I think it's cool when they come in, and the yellow belly really brings out a lot more yellow. So right here I have an Enchi yellow belly fader, and as you can see, the winter time, especially up here in New York, it's very cold outside, so it's hard to keep humidity in the enclosure, and you can see she has a bunch of stuck shed. I actually just sprayed down her enclosure quite a bit, but you can see how much yellow she's catched, because Enchi is a yellow enhancing gene, yellow belly's an Enchi enhancing gene, and the fader is a line that Kevin McCurley at Nerd works with as far as yellow bellies. I'm not sure if it's a separate gene or not. Honestly, I'm not the best when it comes to ball python genetics, but as you can see, this is just a smoking female, and I believe she's gravid. This may even be, I believe she's ovulated, so she actually bred with the black pastel yellow belly, so there's gonna be some ivories, some ivory black pastel, some ivory Enchi. I don't even know, so many combinations, but this is just a beautiful girl. Hopefully we can get this stuck shed off of her. So here's another big girl I have here. This is a lithium, which is a combination of a cinnamon and a lesser. So as you can see, we have a bunch of lesser going on. And then the cinnamon is actually a darker gene, what you would call a melanin increasing gene, which means that it makes the animal darker. And a lesser is a melanin reducing gene. So put them together and you, for whatever reason, get this in between tan color, you know, a sandy, sometimes even yellow, and then the pattern just kind of blows out, and as you can see, the belly white kind of comes up the side here, and just a really wacky patterned animal. It basically takes all the good things about lesser and all the good things about cinnamon, and these guys just look great as babies, look great as adults, and that's really the idea here, is to get animals that look just as good as they do when they're born to when they're adults. So as you can see, these guys are just awesome. And by the way, if you guys don't know much about ball pythons, this is an adult female right here. As you can see, maybe 4 feet, but very heavy bodied, and as docile as can be. So right here I have a super pastel. So what this is obviously this is the super form of the pastel, and the super pastel just stays a little bit brighter with age, a little bit wackier pattern, a little bit more faded out, and just creates a beautiful animal as an adult. And you know, this is a female, so you know that every baby that she has is gonna have pastel in it. It can't reproduce itself, so this super pastel can't make other super pastels, but you know that every baby is gonna be at least a pastel because of her. So an awesome thing to have in your collection. If you do super pastel to super pastel, then every single one of your babies is going to be super pastel. So right here I have a Pastel Leopard ball python. So this is, like you saw the super pastel before, this is the single form of the pastel with leopard. So what leopard does is wax out all the pattern. People originally thought that they were connected, but they thought that every leopard was a het pied. So leopard was basically a het form of a pied, but a lot of people worked to isolate the leopard from the pied. So now we're working with pieds that aren't now we're working with leopards that aren't necessarily het pied. And leopard as a single gene makes the pattern crazy as well as darkens the animal. So when you put pastel in there, it really overpowers the pastel. But in this case, if you get a really good pastel, it turns it into this gold coloration, which is great too. So if you have a really bright, you know, somehow you can get enchy, yellow belly, and pastel into leopard, you know, you can get some really bright animals while keeping that crazy pattern. You can see there's almost like oceloting pattern going all the way down. So here I have just a single gene leopard. As you can see, a much darker animal, less whacked out than the pastel leopard that I just showed you, but as you can see, it has those train tracks down here, which is usually what they used to use for het pied markers. A lot of people said that all het pieds had these railroad tracks, which you can't really tell 100% from the het markers and stuff like that. That's never really proved out 100%, but I mean, you know, like I said, the leopard was connected to the pied, so it's quite possible this animal could be het pied. So what I have right here is a lesser Het Red axanthic. So as you can see, it looks like a lot of the other lessers, and then the Het Red axanthic is actually a codominant gene. It isn't a recessive gene, but I believe they may have thought that the superformed looked like an axanthic and the codom they couldn't really tell apart from anything. I'm not really sure how that came to be, but this is a lesser Het Red axanthic. So what we have right here is an enchy fire. So enchy gives a little bit of a pattern mutation, and then it's usually a yellow enhancer, and then fire is an enhancer gene as well. Honestly, I didn't think that this is what this animal would look like as an adult, but if we're wrong, let me know. But this is a cool looking snake. This is gonna be the only young ball python my dad has in his collection. Look at how small he is. But Orange Dream is an orange enhancing, just like the name says, an orange enhancing gene, and goes really good with things like enchy, yellow belly, and you can get some really crazy combos. If you want to look up someone who works really well with these, it's Ozzy Boyd's. You know, Ozzy was the originator of the Orange Dream. People really didn't think it was a big deal until he started line breeding them and putting them into enchy, pastel, fire, that kind of stuff. Making some really killer animals. So this is a really hot gene as far as putting yellow enhancing into animals. So this is definitely one to have in your collection. And this is obviously just a little guy right now. So my dad doesn't just have pythons. So what we have here is a little corn snake, and I wanted to end the video with a corn snake because, well, you know, this is what this channel's built upon as far as, you know, a lot of our things, you know, Morelia and corn snakes and stuff like that. I know you guys love corn snakes almost as much as you love ball pythons, because I hear people asking for ball pythons all the time. What I have here is actually a creamsicle striped corn snake. So what this is, albino corn snake bred to an emery rat snake, which makes a root beer corn snake, which when bred together, when that hybrid is then bred together with another het, makes these creamsicles. You can see it just is a lot more yellow than a normal A-male, brings out a lot of yellow and some different color oranges than would be in a regular A-male corn snake. And then of course this one has stripe on top of it. So just wanted to close it with a cool corn snake. Thank you guys so much for watching. If I messed up any of the ball python stuff, feel free to tell me in the comments, but don't be too harsh. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and if you made it this far, you're on the team.